this is Devin with RadDevin.com. Today I'm going to talk about some ways that geeks can save money during the economic downturn. It's kind of hard being a geek because a lot of our toys are pretty expensive. Most of the time we can't control it. If you want an iPod or if you want an iPhone or something like that, you're pretty much going to pay retail price. If you want a nice TV, you know, you can get the price down, but you're not going to get it down past a certain point. One place where you can control prices is with cables. If you go into a retail store, you're going to get completely gouged on cables. They're going to charge 1,500% of their cost to get you the cable. So luckily for Ethernet cables, you can actually make your own cables, and it's pretty cheap. I got a 1,000 foot spool of Ethernet cable for about $75 at geeks.com, and now it's even cheaper. I think it's about $65 now. So that's a good way that you can save money by just making your own. Ethernet cables, I think a 50-foot cable at Best Buy costs about $50. So you're going to get 1,000 feet for $75. That's tremendous savings. And I'm going to demonstrate for you how to actually make the cables, how to crimp the ends so that you can do all your own cables. Okay, I've got here my cabling kit from geeks.com. It's 1,000 feet of cable. It also comes with the tools you need. It has a cable tester, has the crimper, and it has a pack of 50 ends. And I'm just going to demonstrate the actual process of making a cable for you. So you've got the end of your cable. I don't know if you can see in here or not, but there are a lot of little wires inside here. What you want to do is you want to cut away this plastic so that you can get to those. And this is actually the stripper, so you can put your wire in there. This is supposed to be enough. That's why it's got to stop here, so that you won't put the cable in too far. I find that it makes it easier to manage if you actually do put it in a little bit further, strip off a little extra. I'll just close it down just a little bit, just so that the blades cut into the plastic a little bit, and then twist it. And now we can pull that sheath off, and we've got the wires. Now there are 4 pairs of wires, and they are actually twisted together. Sometimes it's a little hard to distinguish the colors. This is actually the orange pair. That's the first pair we'll need. This is the green pair. That's the second pair we'll be using. The blue pair and the brown pair. So I'm going to put those from left to right in the order that we're going to use them. Then I'm going to start here with the orange pair and untwist it. And I want to untwist it all the way down to the sheath, because it's going to go into the end. And let me pull one out so you can see. Once we get these in the correct order, we're going to slide them into this end. So we'll need enough of it to be untwisted so that it can go cleanly straight into the little slot. Another thing we need to do is we need to make sure the white one's first, because that's going to be the very first wire. Sometimes you have to toy around and figure out the best way to get that white one first. I think I'm going to go this way around behind the solid colored wire. So these wires would be called white of orange and then orange. And the white one has a little orange stripe so that you can tell it from the other whites. Each pair has a white wire and a colored wire, a solid colored wire. Next we're going to take the green. So I'm going to untwist the green pair. I need the white from the green pair first, that'll go next to the solid orange. So we have white of orange, orange, and then white of green. Now, what you can do as you're arranging these, just sort of take them like this and wiggle them to get them straightened out, and you want to have as little space between them as possible. So they're pretty straight, and they're pretty much as close together as we can get them. Now this green one, we're going to put it out of the way for just a minute. We'll set it back. Next we go to the blue pair, and from white of green we're going to blue. So now we have white of orange, orange, white of green, blue. Next, white of blue. So the white we untwisted from that pair just now. And now we're going to the green. So I've got white of orange, orange, white of green, blue, white of blue, green. And now we're ready for the brown pair. White of brown is next, and then solid brown. Now we can take the whole set. You want to keep them in order and in a straight line. And you can kind of hold them really tight and wiggle them back and forth. That'll get all the spaces out at least as much as possible, and even wiggle them this way. That'll help get them lined up. Okay. Now you want to take your finger and hold the wires such that not only are they still in order, but that your thumb is touching the top of your plastic sheath. So take it like that. The top of your thumb is going to be used as a guideline to decide where to cut these wires off. So now we're going to go back to the crimp tool. The crimp tool has a wire cutter right here, this blade. What you want to do is put your wires in there so that you have just a little extra past the end of your thumb if the bottom part of your thumb is touching the top of the sheath. So we'll put them in. We want to cut them off straight as possible. So there we go. Now we've got a pretty straight cut across the top, and we've got all the wires still in order. You've got to keep those clamped down between your thumb and forefinger to keep them in order. Now we take the end, and we're going to slide them in that same order. This may take a little bit of doing depending on how straight the ends of your wires are. So just sort of get them wiggled in there. If it's a little tough to press in, you may have two wires going into one slot. There are distinctive slots in there that line up under these connectors. If they're not individually one wire per slot, then it's going to be really tough to slide them in, plus you won't be able to use it after you crimp the wire. So once you get them in all the slots properly, then just wiggle it back and forth and press it in towards the end. That'll get it as close to the end as possible. You can even look at it from this direction, and you'll be able to see if they're touching the end. You'll see some colors, you may see some gaps. If you see gaps, that wire is not as far as it needs to be. Also, it's a good idea to get the sheath in as far as possible, because when we crimp, this plastic right here is going to be forced down. It's going to be pressed down, and if it can catch that plastic sheathing, then that's going to give it an extra level of security. It'll kind of hang in there. Once you've got everything pressed in the way you need to, then you take your crimping tool again, and you're going to put the end into the crimp tool. And the way you do it is this flat piece is going to be at the back of the end. The teeth right here are going to be at the front of the end because they're going to have to press in on the connectors to push those into the wires. Now while you're crimping, you want to continue to push the wires into the end, and then just push down on the crimper as hard as you can, because you have to force those connectors in to the wires. You may even want to go 2 hands. Okay. So now looks like we got a pretty good end. All the wires are in there far enough, and the connectors are pressed in. And I don't know if you can see there, but the connector is actually piercing into the plastic around the individual wires, and that's what makes the connection. Now all you have to do is pull out however much wire you need, cut it off, and then repeat that exact process for the other end. Once you're done, you should have a good Ethernet cable. I'm going to go ahead and do the other end, and then I'll use the tester to test it out for you. Okay, now our cable's complete and we're ready to test. I'm going to use the cable tester that was included with the cabling kit. I'll just plug one end of the cable into each side of it and flip the switch. Now you'll see the power button here, and each pair is tested over here. The green lights show us that we're okay. If we get a red light or no light, there's a problem. If you have this cable run underneath your house or somewhere where both ends aren't together, these pieces will actually detach. So you can take one to each side of the house wherever you have the ends of your cables and continue to test them that way. That's all for making your own Ethernet cables. If you have any questions, post in the comments at the bottom of this post, or send me an email, devin@raddevin.com. Check back for the next episode. I'm going to have some more money saving tips for the economic downturn that'll help you maintain your geek status while still saving a little money. And in the meantime, subscribe to the feed, check out the blog, keep up with the stories, and I'll see you next time. If you like this episode, go to raddevin.com in your browser. Scroll down on the right-hand side of the page to find the podcast subscription links. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another episode in 2 weeks.